The Streisand effect is the phenomenon that occurs when an attempt to hide, remove, or censor information has the unintended consequence of increasing awareness of that information, often via the internet. You know, in all honesty, you weren't someone that seemed to require too much of my attention. Even after the whole copyright fiasco you pulled, I even entertained the possibility that I would let this go and move along. But then I received this little email from YouTube and I read your complaint. And I just want to read this one section. And I quote, "This person misgenders me, uses slurs, ridicules me, claims I am lying about my lived experiences, and makes many rude comments about my weight, health, and disabilities. They specifically target me as a multiply marginalized person." Now, Sapphic, none of that is true. I defined the Streisand effect for you in the beginning of this video, but I'd like to define another term for you: fair use. According to U.S. Title Code 17, Section 107, usage of copyrighted material with the intended purpose of criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, or research is not an infringement of copyright. My videos on you included criticism and teaching, meaning it is protected by fair use. But let's go back to your original complaint. In your complaint, you made the claim that I misgendered you. This is false. I made sure to refer to you using they, them pronouns, and even if I didn't, that's not a copyright violation. You also said I used slurs against you. That's just ridiculous, because it's not true. I never used slurs against you, and even if I did, that doesn't eliminate fair use. I could have called you all kinds of slurs, and trust me, I know a lot. I've been in those Call of Duty lobbies since World at War. I have a doctorate in slurs, and that still wouldn't prevent my content from being protected by fair use. You said I ridiculed you. Criticism and ridicule are two different things. You said I made rude comments about your weight and health. This is another one that's just blatantly false. I never said anything about your body or health in my content. I simply responded to your claims. And once again, even if I did, that doesn't eliminate fair use. You said I made rude comments about your disabilities. This one's just ridiculous. How could I hate disabled people? I'll have you know, my dad is bald. In all seriousness, this is another lie. I don't know what disabilities you have, so I didn't mention them at all to make fun of you for them. Add to this, again, even if I called you the most ableist slur in existence, I'd still be protected by fair use. You do know fair use protects assholes too. You said I targeted you as a multiply marginalized person. You gotta be kidding me with this one. Like, I'm black and gay. Like, what? And even if that was the reason I made my video on you specifically, it would still be protected by fair use because, again, assholes are protected by fair use too. I was trying to figure out what made you say these blatantly false statements about my content, and then I watched Beast Train Mean video on you, and I saw something that confirmed a suspicion I had. You didn't watch these videos. You wrote down this complaint, copied and pasted it, and sent this same complaint to YouTube about multiple content creators. Now this is where you fucked up. In signing the agreement to attempt to have my content taken down, here's something that you had to agree to. I have good faith that the use of material in the manner complained of is not authorized by the copyright owner, its agent, or the law, and this notification is accurate. Now, how could this be the case if you didn't even watch the content as revealed by the fact that the statements are false and the fact that this is the same complaint word for word that you sent to another content creator and probably more I am not yet aware of? You do know, according to the agreement you signed, this is ground for YouTube account termination, correct? After this monologue, the plan was to include an entire compilation that was dedicated to your content, but look who decided to run from the consequences of their action. I could follow them, but my TikTok For You page is a safe haven full of shit that makes me laugh, and I have no interest in changing that. So unfortunately, we will only be getting 2 videos from our brother, the Sapphic.
The assumption that like every chronically ill or overweight person doesn't take care of themselves is such bullshit.
I will give you chronically ill because that's often outside of your control. But as for overweight, I think having a healthy diet is part of taking care of yourself, but go off.
For so many of y'all, being fat is your biggest fear. That's embarrassing. Unpack that. Or just stay confined to the thin ideal.
Weren't you trying to work in mental health? I'm not sure what you were taught, but I can say with a high degree of certainty that you weren't taught to cure phobias by ridiculing them.
I've never really thought about whether or not someone else is healthy. It's weird to me that that's like a common thing that people say when they engage with fat people on the internet. They'll leave comments saying things like, I'm just worried about your health. I just want you to be healthy. Don't you want to be healthy? I mean, number one, you can tell nothing about a person's health based on the shape or size of their body.
What you can do, based on the data that we do have, is tell that they are at an increased risk for a litany of diseases, and that should be monitored.
So that's kind of the first rule. Although a lot of people don't want to believe that. And if that is the way that you are kind of shielding your fat phobia, don't you think it's kind of weird that you are obsessed with someone else's health and whether or not...
I'd love to live in this bubble in which a single individual's health doesn't impact anyone else's health, but that's not the reality here in America, unfortunately, for you and me both. Trammell and Others 2017 is a systematic review that used data from 23 studies to assess the economic burden of obesity-related conditions based on present data and what they found in every country. They concluded in this review that as obesity-related conditions go up, the burden on the healthcare system increases. And here in the US, the government isn't just going to front us the bill. I'm paying for that. You're paying for that. The obese and the non-obese are all paying for that. I'd much rather prefer my money went towards infrastructure, education, the sciences, as opposed to illnesses that are the result of modifiable lifestyles.
they are healthy. Like, I don't sit at restaurants and look around at what other people are ordering and wondering whether or not it's healthy. I don't go to bars and ask people how many drinks they've had and whether or not they should really order that second or third cocktail or glass of wine.
If you see someone absolutely plastered at a bar and they're about to get another drink, it's perfectly fine to go up to them and say, hey, maybe you shouldn't have another. I see nothing wrong with that. This was a terrible example.
I'm not sitting at coffee shops asking people if that's their second or third latte of the day and whether or not that's healthy. It's weird. Get a hobby.
Like I said before, we don't live in a bubble in which others' decisions are free from impacting the rest of the herd.
Growing up, I felt really justified in hating my body because fatness is always framed as this public health concern. And I think this narrative is perpetuated that, like, if you are not actively trying to lose weight at all times, you do not care about your health, and you are going to die because you are fat.
Well, let's not pretend like being fat doesn't kill people, though.
But when you start really diving into medical literature and understanding the science that exists between weight and health, you just start to realize that this is not the case. Health is complex and multifaceted, and people can be healthy or unhealthy at a variety of sizes.
At the moment, sure. This study by Kaliakity and colleagues published in 2017 followed nearly 3.5 million metabolically healthy people in each BMI category for an average of 5 years and found that after this time, the metabolically healthy obese were 49% more likely to experience coronary heart disease, 7% more likely to experience cerebrovascular disease, and 96% more likely to experience heart failure. So sure, they can be healthy, but the data suggests that's less likely in the future than a normal weight person.
But I really encourage us to push beyond this thinking anyway, because regardless of whether someone is healthy or not, they still deserve love, respect, basic dignity. Yet people believe that fat people don't deserve this because of their bodies.
That's dandy, but I can't love you out of heart failure.
Let's talk about why weight is not a very good measurement for health. And I already know, I hear the trolls chirping away about how I'm promoting obesity, that I'm wrong, yada, yada, yada. But there is a lot of research that shows that a lot of the things that we typically associate with obesity, like the heart disease, diabetes, premature death, a lot of those things are also associated with the weight stigma that people experience. And I'm talking all the bullying that I see on this dang app. Bullying from family, friends, discrimination, the fat phobia that we see in society. If someone internalizes those things as those are true about me, that internalization causes an increased risk for heart disease, diabetes, premature death, anxiety, depression, a risk for developing an eating disorder. All of those are very serious health conditions that don't necessarily have anything to do with the weight itself, but it has to do with the way that they are treated by society, by people in general.
People say things like this, but we have ways to verify it is indeed the obesity itself that is the biggest factor. We can use an animal model. In humans, obesity leads to increased instances of diabetes. This is a fact that is undeniable. So if it truly is the cause of obesity, let's say I take a mouse and fatten that fucker up. What I should expect is increased instances of diabetes. Remember, mice don't talk and they can't understand people, so they don't experience weight stigma. Research by Walker and colleagues published in 2017. In this study, researchers noted two things. One, fattened up mice had increased instances of glucose intolerance, which often leads to type 2 diabetes, and two, they can reverse this by giving them a low-fat diet, which also reverses the obesity. Now, weight stigma isn't the reason these mice had increased glucose intolerance, and it's not the reason fat humans do either.
The hell is this?
Fat phobia in the franchise.
Ooh, child, the singing? Let's not do that anymore. My audiologist will know you by name. This is not fat phobia, and you do not have to buy that yogurt.
Why are we still
Funny,
complimenting
yes,
weight
but not
loss?
funny, haha. Funny fat phobic.
So why shouldn't we compliment people's weight loss? According to this person, quote, "You don't know how the weight loss was achieved, and you might be enabling disordered eating," end quote. If someone is posting about their weight loss in a positive manner, and I have no indication that they have an eating disorder, I'm not going to assume they do. You don't make assumptions like that when the evidence is lacking. This post stinks, and it's probably all the jealousy that's causing the stench.
Hi, this is your reminder that fat phobia and weight stigma are rooted in white supremacy.
Shut the fuck up. With that said, I want to thank you all for your support during this whole fiasco with Fatsapphicbro and copyright. Your support means a lot to me, and with that being said, I'll catch you guys on the flip.